Hello everyone, it's Christine here and I'm back for Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, and our project for this 6-month period is to create a slow stitch field notes accordion book. I'm doing a standing accordion book that will stand up along the front of my bookshelf like a display field notes, and I'm also going to be doing a cabinet of curiosities as well. Which I'm yet to make a start on, but you might have seen the previous episodes where I was working on my cover, which is this gorgeous tulip, which funnily enough would have even fitted for this week's prompt, which is to create a piece inspired by a spring bulb. Now, fortunately, I actually have 2 other spring bulbs that I absolutely adore, and because they're a little bit, to me, exotic, and the one that I immediately thought of that I wanted to use as the focus for this piece is something called snake's head Fritillaria, or its Latin name Fritillaria and I probably won't say this right, meleagris, and it's also known as checkerboard as well because of its pattern. So I'll give you a bit of and again, this is where the light's probably going to fail me a bit. I'm down filming at the kitchen table because Alex is on night works tonight, so he's gone to bed super early this evening so he can get some sleep before he has to be up at sort of 11:30 to do the night works with his work. So I'm trying to keep things nice and quiet downstairs and not interrupt his rest if he can get some rest. So I'll come back to my little story around the Fritillaria in a moment and why I have picked it. And in fact, the story is going to be part of my slow stitch piece. But I'm pretty excited because I've said this a few times in past videos. I've always had a phobia of using my printer to print onto fabric. I've never wanted to do any of the do-it-yourself versions. So I finally bit the bullet and got myself some inkjet printable fabric. It's the Matilda Zone A4 size, and that's what I've used, and I did my first print tonight and it has worked absolutely brilliantly. So the fabric comes with a plastic backing on it, and then it's a beautiful, it almost reminds me, unfortunately because of the lighting I can't really let me see if I can move my light and sort of angle it up so you can get a bit of a look at the texture of it. It almost looks like a linen. It really has a beautiful, beautiful texture, and I thought I'd save this bit. I had started peeling the corner, but basically once you've printed on it, you just peel it off its backing. Hopefully this sound doesn't put anyone off. I know some people like these sorts of sounds. Peeling. There we go. So I'll probably need to put it down or sort of roll it backwards so that it loses that little rolliness. I'm sure that's just because I did peel it off the backing. But that is what it's like, and it looks beautiful and thin. And when I read the reviews, it said that it was fine to stitch through. So let's just test it out with the needle. This is quite a large needle. It's obviously quite a tight weave of the fabric, but I'm sure those little sort of holes of the needle will. So yeah, it's definitely fine to put the needle through, which will be good. I love that it's even got like a little slub sort of in the fabric down there. It's just, yeah, super good. So what I did to create this piece, which is going to, let me grab, and I've also had arrive in the post this week my comic board backing boards. So I got 193 by 266 millimeters because that's the size that I want my book to be. And so this is one of the cards. I'll probably end up, I think, putting 2 cards together just to give them extra stability. And then the idea will be that my pieces will wrap over and wrap around, and each of my pieces will have sort of borders around them within the sort of slow stitching style, and I will also do slow stitching, I think, into the piece as well, whether it be stitching parts of the design, whether I stitch the checkerboard, whether I add some colour to this little sketch over here, whether maybe I make my own little coloured sketch further down below it. The other idea I had is I could continue this little theme, like this little mini field notes that I made for the cover, which is going to just sit, sort of slot into the cover, and had some of the Tim Holtz stamps in it. I was thinking I could continue this theme and make a little miniature field notes for each of the pages. And what I thought I could do for the actual prompts themselves is experiment in here in sort of evoking whether it be the shape of the petal, or I thought I could do things like weaving with, laying down a sort of a foundation and then weaving with ribbon to get the sort of the effect of the Fritillaria. Now, interestingly, they do come in different sort of intensities of colour. I've got some photos from my Instagram of when I grew Fritillaria myself. It's now naturalised as a bulb in my garden, so it comes up each spring. Hopefully it continues to. And yeah, it's been interesting to observe the different colours, but this will be the sort of centrepiece. And then I won't do it in this episode, but my plan is to then be creating sort of borders around. And I'm thinking for this border, I want to try and evoke some of the design itself. Now this piece, it probably isn't going to be the right colours, but whether I can play with it a bit with my Inktense. But I was looking at some of these little woven scraps that I've got from the reverse art truck. So they would have probably come from a factory and been samples of different machine knitting. But I was just thinking, oh, could I create a little border piece, or possibly something for my little field notes journal using my Inktense, and then maybe shaping it into the shape of a petal, or yeah, just having a play around with this to evoke the sense of the flower. So what I'll do is I'll read you my little writing that I have put onto my this printed piece. And what I did was I first of all wrote the story that I wanted to capture in my field notes, because I want my field notes to be based on things I'm actually observing or have observed. And luckily I've captured a lot of it either just in my photo roll, or at times when I've been using Instagram a bit more, I've captured it in Instagram. And so I even had the date when the first Fritillaria came out in my garden. So it's really nice that I can actually capture the story of that in this field notes journal. So I'll read you what's on here, because I'm sure you probably can't read it if you're watching this on the video. As I say, the lighting's a little bit dodgy. So I first remember seeing this flower in the dappled sunshine under a large old tree at Diggers Cloud Hill Gardens in the Dandenong Ranges here in Victoria. I was incredibly struck by its form and pattern, almost like a checkerboard. It looked like some sort of creation out of Alice in Wonderland. I purchased some bulbs for this mysterious plant, Fritillaria meleagris, from a local grower in the Dandenong Ranges early in 2021. And by the spring of 2021, 10th of September, I was so delighted to discover my first bloom. Many more followed, and I hope to see some more this coming spring as the bulbs have naturalised to their garden bed. Fritillaria meleagris is a Eurasian species of the lily family, Lily, and I don't know if I can say this right, Lily Achaeaceae, I'm not sure. It is native to the flood river plains of Europe, where it grows in abundance. The Latin specific epithet meleagris means spotted like a guinea fowl. The common name, snake's head, probably refers to the somewhat snake-like appearance of the nodding flower heads, especially when in bud on their long stems. So I probably, in my little, whether it will be in a little book or here, I will show what one of the buds themselves looks like as well. I do have some other images, but I don't know if I've actually found one that's, well, that one's probably closer to being a little bud, which almost, but yeah, they do tend to, when they're a bit more enclosed, look even more like a snake's head as well. And so what I did was went searching for some public domain or licensable images. I found some on Wikimedia Commons, so full public domain, and then I found this one that's a licensable for personal use available one as well. So that's what I ended up using because I felt this one was most true to look of the one that I grew in my garden. I'm just going to move the lights around because I feel it is a little bit dark, so just bear with me for a moment with a bit of pinging, and no, that's going to put the light in your eyes, which won't be fun. Not sure if that's any better. Let's see. Not sure. We'll just have to make do. Hopefully it's okay for you. And so yeah, search the public domain, and then I used the free download program. I think you can have a pro version of it. I just used the free version of Canva. So Canva is like a layout program. It's C-A-N-V-A. Let me just see if I can bring it up on my phone. So it's Canva like that. Eventually it will open, I am sure. It's taking a moment. Probably my phone's got too much on it, as is usually the case. But yeah, it lets you design something up, lets you put text boxes on. So that was a text box, that was a text box. I then put the picture on. I could also pick what I wanted the background and tried to make it sort of match. I still wanted it to look like there was a page stuck and then some writing over the top. But yeah, I was really happy with how it turned out. It wasn't where I started. At first I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll take the images and in fact that's a picture of one of the ones I grew in my garden, but we'll come back to that. And I was thinking I might write, so that was one of my first efforts at writing. I also had a go at writing on a paper bag because I thought, oh, maybe the brown will be good. The problem was when I then went to print it out just onto paper, it was quite sort of shadowy and dark, and I also wanted it a bit more sort of wrapping around the image. And so in the end I decided, look, I'll just type in my own notes, put it in a nice sort of script, and I think I'll be happy with that. I might still do some writing, maybe even at the smaller scale in my little field notes. Maybe I can write the little titles or prompts for the page, or maybe there'll be some future prompts where I get a bit better at working out how to write. I probably could have done it, but I worried that I'd end up making a mistake somewhere and have to just keep overdoing it. And I must admit my energy levels have been a bit down this week, so I just wanted to give myself an easy out. But I wanted to give you the idea that if you do have a printer, mine's an Epson EcoTank. If you have been afraid of printing on fabric, I can highly recommend. I know I've only used it once, but it worked faultlessly the first time. The only thing I did first was put marked across on a sheet of paper in my feeder tray so that I could work out which was the up and which was the down by printing a page. And that meant that the first time I printed this, I printed on the correct side and not on the other side, which, speaking from experience, I have done that before. So what else do I want to have a think about? I did say I probably won't do the layout around it, but I'm wondering if I do have a bit of a play. So yeah, but as I sort of mentioned, I'll end up having these wrapped around the board. The great thing is, even when I print out on A4, they'll still have enough overlap, and then I'm planning to have a piece on the back where I'll fold the edges under, and then I can just sort of stitch the sides together to get a good finish and a no raw edge effect. But maybe I should have a little play with some different possibilities for the border. I'm just thinking I was going to show you, sorry, get distracted. I was going to show you my pictures from when I grew them in the garden itself. Bit all over the place. It's going to be one of those videos. So let me show you that one. I probably won't go. If you haven't visited with me on Instagram. I haven't been posting that much actually lately for quite a while. But yeah, that's the Fritillaria. So that was back on 10th of September, which is the date I put on my field notes. So happy this bulb has bloomed. And then I did actually have a later picture. And so just to look at the difference between them. So that just take in the colours on that one. And that's why I'm thinking possibly even that purple, because it's almost a very dark purpley black. But then I think the other one, so I'm going to have plenty of other inspiration if I do want to do any other bulbs. And in fact, even in my garden at the moment, there's these beautiful little jonquils out. So that is quite amazing. Let me see if I can find my other one. There we are. And so you can see, maybe it was just the light, but it's got a real intensity in colour to that one. Still crushing on this snake's head Fritillaria. I think I spelt it with a Y, probably not the proper spelling of it. So I'm thinking, yeah, if I do something like this, I might do that in the little booklet as a little experiment. So I'm wondering, I just grabbed some of these before I came downstairs. This one's got some staining on it, so I wouldn't mind using it. And I'm wondering, I mean, one option is that I could actually, where I want to enjoy the sort of the border pieces, I could put this one on the back and then bring the border pieces over. I could cut around this and then put this on atop my border pieces. Although interestingly, I won't get much of that one. So the other option is I could have it a bit more offset. Or thinking. I quite like this one because it's almost got that sort of, not a checkerboard, not a total checkerboard pattern, but it's got a bit of a sense of it. Yeah, I'm not sure. So that's a possibility. Or I can make up just a more regular sort of border by assembling all sorts of little doily bits, a bit like what I showed in the video for my cover. It's not on there obviously at the moment because I'm doing my thread painting. Again, this one's got some staining in the centre of it. But I could even start out with, because I do want a bit sticking out over the edge. But I would probably need to then have something wrapping around, so I might put an extra bit of sort of fabric on it. But if I did want to take advantage of that edge and then ultimately trim this down, or probably actually fold it under so that I didn't have a raw edge, put this onto the page like this, and then start to add some other sorts of elements around it like this. So I think that's a definite possibility. Let's just have a look at what other ones we think might be good. It'd be nice to find some other things that are sort of reminiscent. I'm just going to move around to a pile. I just grabbed some random things. I don't have my usual stash with me. So even things like this, and I'm even wondering if I might use, I've got my Inktense blocks and I might be able to colour some of these up, because something like this, if I stretched it a bit, gave it a bit of, once I kind of detach out that piece from there, it could start to look like the petal. I could even make my own little one, sort of Fritillaria up the top. I've also got lovely things like braids like this. It might be fun, I think, to bring, yeah, some of these sort of pinky colours in, as well as the ribbon that I was sharing before. I was just having a think about whether I could also, having a rattle around in my box. That's almost a bit too bright, but it might become muted enough. The one that I was really struggling to find a sort of a comparable colour for was the dark colour in my own Fritillaria balloon. So that's quite a dark a dark colour, so that's where I'm kind of looking at this, but wondering if it really is the right colour. And let's have a look at some of my other little gnawed away bits and pieces. So I think, yeah, definitely I could use more pieces like this. Would be kind of reminiscent, I think, of the checkerboard effect. And maybe bringing in some green as well for the stems. I've got other woven bits as well. This is another sample from the reverse art truck, so I'm just sort of pondering on how I could, whether I could even again dye this with my Inktense, that darker sort of purpley colour, and then come through it maybe with the ribbon. I don't know if that would work. Let's just have a little play. I'm kind of, yeah, as I say, I don't think I'll sort of properly start work on this. My brain's a little bit tired, so I'll give my brain a little bit of a rest. But I will at least have a little play. So let's see how it would actually work if we used something like this and wove ourselves through it. So that's probably, I'm just thinking I might need to go under one, might need to sort of do the same. How would that look? Or is that too far as well? I'm actually thinking I might need to go up, down, up, down. Was that what I was doing before? Let's just see. I'll do a bit more so that we can actually get a look at it. Yeah, probably not sort of, probably not spaced up enough. I wonder if I go the other direction, if that gives me any different effect. It's almost like too spaced out, sorry, when I said not spaced enough, it's like too gappy. That's probably better when it shrinks back a little bit. Like that's probably a bit better if this was the darker colour and then had this colour in it. Could work. Definitely not with the blue though, but that's a thought for just some of the things I can play with. But otherwise, yeah, definitely want to do some thread weaving, probably in a little field notes book like this, which is very easy to make. In case you didn't see the last episode, I just cut out some pieces of just regular calico. I did what I wanted to do on them, which in this case was stamping. I then just sewed one of these little sort of doily cut off pieces, not from this but from something similar. Just sewed that onto the back page. I then put one of my little mother of pearl buttons, and that then makes just the perfect little latch to go over there. I love how this sort of tucks under there and it holds it quite secure. I did some stitching because I needed to stitch on this field notes, which I had hand thread stitched with a split stitch, and so I just finished going around the page just for that. But these other pages I just left as is. If you were, and if in this case, if I'm going to do some stitching into the pages, what I'll probably do is make 2 pages that I can then stitch around so that we don't see any of the stitching on the back of the pages. But I'll come back and show you that if I do go down that pathway. But I thought that would be kind of cool because I want this to be on the front of my shelf. I want it to be interactive. I want it to be something that people can come up to and have a little, have a little look and interaction with, and get this out, have a look at the field notes. And wouldn't it be fun to then do a bit more of the slow stitching and the experimenting with ways to evoke this particular plant, even maybe doing a bit of a stitching of a miniature stitching of the bulb. And I'll keep looking through and seeing what other botanic pictures I can find. For example, this one I found, but I didn't go with it because I didn't feel the sketch was as evocative of what the actual flower looks like. And that's where it's great. If you've actually seen things in nature, then you can go, yeah, that looks like what I saw, or maybe it looks a bit like a, not quite. But I could do some stitching as well of the little stamens. But yeah, even interesting to sort of observe the differences in colour between the two. I suppose these are very old. So this one's 1891, and this one was pretty old as well. I think it's, I can't remember the exact date on it. I don't know if I've even got it easily accessible, probably not. But yeah, it's really interesting to see these. I didn't actually expect that I'd find necessarily botanical drawings, because I thought it was a little bit rarer. It's certainly rare here in Victoria. It's not a native or anything. And it's not something that I'd seen at many, well, in fact, I hadn't seen it anywhere else other than at Diggers, which tends to have rare plants, and they try and bring plants sort of back from the brink that aren't otherwise, kind of mainstream plants. So yeah, I was interested to read that over in Europe it's actually quite plentiful and abundant on the river floodplains. Sorry, I'm just typing into my phone as I chat to you to see if I can find what year this particular drawing. So it's from Kew Images, 1880 to 1888. So yeah, how absolutely amazing to be able to incorporate an actual really vintage field notes drawing and then add my own touches to it and stitch into it, and make it something for myself. So I might not keep you too much longer. I think I just really wanted to kind of pop on, give you that starting idea if you were struggling a bit. I know some people struggle with the idea of the writing. I certainly did think I was going to do my own writing, but I'm really happy I've done it like this. It's going to be a lot quicker to get started, and it just meant that I wasn't kind of repeatedly going through and fixing things. Like even here, I sort of mixed up, I stuffed up something over here, and my writing was a bit all over the place. So hopefully I can save you some effort for those that might be stuck. If you don't have a printer, you can absolutely do other things. This isn't the only way to do it. I think others are doing much more stylized field notes, so using doilies and things, but I really wanted to create something closer to the sort of field notes books that I really admire, and the really sort of botanical drawings and things, but then have my own story and my own place built into it. So I will do some pondering. I'll sit down now and have just a bit of relaxing stitching time. I might even just do a bit more on this. Sometimes I find thread painting is the most relaxing thing I can possibly do, and I've not got too far to go before this flower will be done. I'm not sure I'm going to proceed with the idea of felting this. I just don't think, I think if I did do it, I'd have to put a thicker blanket backing on. That's when I've been successful felting through cottons. So I won't say never, and I won't say I won't. Just when I tried it with this, it just wasn't really hitting the mark for me. So I'm not even convinced that I necessarily need to thread paint the other two. I think sometimes it's nice that you have one of your blooms really popping out, and then maybe leave the others as sort of actual stitches, as though in the field notes where they do sometimes have some elements which are left uncoloured, and some elements that are sort of coloured up, and this is where you leave some that are almost like sort of just quickly painted, and then some where you come back and do all the detailing into them. So I think it's kind of a nice idea. And then obviously with this I've still got to do the borders, but I was partially waiting to get the card so that I could make sure that when I put the pieces that I'm going to have going around the outside, I haven't brought the box down with all the things that I've got saved for the outside, that I make sure they kind of sit in the right position to be able to do that. So that's probably enough. A shorter video for me, but at least it is checking in and hopefully giving you some ideas. I hope you're all well. Thank you again for all your thoughts. I've still got to respond to all of your comments. As I say, it's been a bit of a full-on week, but I was missing you all, missing my time with my fabric and thread, and I think I just needed that tonight. And I figured while Alex got his rest, I would just have a bit of lovely stitchy, as Alex calls it, stitchy do time with all of you. So thanks so much, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.